So in my last shoe review, I reviewed the Kobe 5 Protro, and in that review, I was talking about the traction, and I said how the traction was elite, but it wasn't the best traction that I ever had. Today's shoe is that shoe. The traction is ridiculous, okay? And today, what shoe am I talking about? You probably know by the title of this video, but today we're talking about the Kobe 9 in the Masterpiece colorway.
I don't wanna trap today. I don't wanna trap today.
Oh, this shoe. Okay, where do I begin? I guess let's start when I copped the shoe. So initially when I saw this shoe on sneakers, I saw the medial side of all these colors and I was like, ooh, that's pretty, I like that. I really want this shoe. However, I also saw that it looked like a boxer shoe, and I'm pretty sure it was inspired off boxing shoes. But when I saw that on Sneakers app, before I bought it, I was like, ooh, I'm not really sure. I might end up returning these after I get them because, you know, in the ankle, it might be a little too bulky for me. I may not like it. However, I got the shoe. I ended up really liking it. And is it a perfect shoe? No. There's flaws to this shoe. And honestly, those flaws sometimes can be a little bit too much. I actually can't wait to dive into the shoe because this shoe is one in my rotation that I either love it or hate it. So I think with any basketball shoe, whenever I do these reviews, I think it's just good to start off with traction. That is the quintessential, you know, bona fide, if you ain't got traction, you can't do shit on the court, okay? So traction, first and foremost on this shoe, is crazy. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, it makes no sense just how grippy this is to any floor that I play on. When I say that, I'm not saying that lightly. I'm saying that this shoe should have a warning label on the side that says, hey, you better have good legs, and you know, you better not be coming back from any type of injury when you put these on, because boom, okay? The traction on this is so dumb that you have to actually not really think, but you have to be really particular with your footwork. Sometimes when I play, if I'm getting kind of tired, right, instead of like picking my foot up and placing it, sometimes I have the tendency to be tired and drag my feet. Well, you can't do that in these shoes, because if you, any time that this bottom sole touches the floor, you are gonna stop. You're gonna stop. You can't do shit about it. You are gonna stop. That is one downfall to this shoe. Sometimes your body just can't handle the traction, at least for me anyway, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Traction on this is gonna get a stupid 11 out of 10. It makes no sense, and I understand. When I say that, do not get me wrong. This traction will not fail you. Any move that you wanna do on the court, you can do it, as long as you're ready to do it. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Rain, snow, sleet, I'm pretty sure if you had a 2-hour delay, you could go out to the bus stop in these, no problem. You wouldn't need a 2-hour delay if everybody had these shoes on. You feel me? So next up on the shoe, I'm gonna talk about the cushion. This shoe actually comes with, let's see if I can get it out. Okay, all right, yeah, spit on it. Maybe. It comes with this React drop-in midsole, okay? And this is your cushion. And I think overall, this is a pretty good cushion. When I wear this shoe, I don't really, you know what? I do kind of feel the cushion, and it's a little bit springy feeling. Like I feel a little bit of bounce in there. The only thing I don't like about this drop-in midsole though is, so I wore these shoes yesterday and I played in them for a while. I played in them for at least 3 hours, maybe even more. Okay, I was just by myself doing my thing, putting myself through workouts. But these ridges on the bottom, I noticed after a while of doing like shifty moves, like for a long time, probably like after the 2-hour mark, my big toe started to form a blister from these ridges right here, of just the constant friction of rubbing against these grooves. That's one knock against the shoe. The longevity of play in this thing is kind of iffy. If you're a double sock kind of guy, or you got like, I don't know, I was wearing just regular socks. Like I didn't have any like cushion socks or anything. That might make a difference. And if you're just playing like one game, like an actual basketball game, you may not have any issues because you're not playing on it long enough. But if you're actually like shifting a lot in these shoes, after a good amount of time, you're gonna start developing blisters because of this insole here. But overall, for the cushion of the shoe, I did feel like it's a little bit too bouncy. If you've ever been in a car that has like broken shocks, where you hit a bump and instead of just going and then it goes back to equilibrium, you hit a bump and it goes and then it eventually gets back to equilibrium, right? That's kind of how these shoes feel. Like the React in it, it feels just a little bit too bouncy for me. So overall, with the cushion, I think I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 out of 10. It is pretty comfortable, however, just a little bit too bouncy for my liking. I want court feel, as well as, you know, my feet not to hurt. My feet, because of the cushion, my feet didn't really hurt, but because of the ridges on the on the insole, it did cause a blister, which caused my feet to hurt a little bit. So 8.5. So next, I'm gonna get into the fit of this shoe. As you know from the Kobe 5 video, I said these fit perfect. They fit like a glove. Okay, so this is my baseline of what I want a shoe to feel like. This shoe, I don't know if you can tell, but I have more than once had to re-cinch this shoe up because, I don't know, whatever this textile material that they've made this out of, it feels like it kind of stretches out and stays that shape. Like it doesn't feel like it has like an elasticity, like a rebound effect at all. It feels like it just kind of stretches out. And at least here in the toe area, I feel like there is a lot of extra room in there. Okay, and I think that that could have added to the reason why I was starting to get blisters on my big toe, is because I have this extra space in the toe from it being a little bit stretched out. I did realize when I first got this shoe, it did feel like I had a little bit of extra room, but since I've been playing in it, it's gotten even worse. And I just keep having to lace it up tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And, you know, I just think eventually I'm gonna have to retire the shoe because I just won't be able to get the lockdown that I'm requiring when I do play, if that makes sense. So the fit, I'm actually gonna give a 6 out of 10. I'm not a big fan of the fit of this shoe. Next up, we're going over the support. So the support of this shoe is also something that's not really the greatest. As you can tell, I can kind of, you know, do what I want with it. It's not very sturdy, and I can just fold it like a pancake. And, you know, the structure of this shoe is not very rigid. So, I mean, there really isn't much to say about that. When you're doing a lot of shifty moves, you really want something that's sturdy, something that can push back against you a little bit, if I'm saying that correctly. But this shoe has none of that really. So for the support of this shoe, I'm actually gonna give it a 4 out of 10. So the next thing I want to touch on this shoe is how lightweight that it is. This shoe is extremely light. When you play in them, you will notice how light that they feel. They're very minimal on foot. You barely feel the weight of them at all. So this shoe, the Kobe 5, this one is a very light shoe as well. However, this shoe is lighter. So I don't think I gave this one a score on weight, but it doesn't matter. Over time, we're gonna figure out a whole system and everything to this, but as of right now, it really doesn't matter. Overall, this is a really light shoe. I don't even think I need to give it like a score or anything. It's really light. All right, so moving on, we're gonna go to the durability of this shoe. I think that this shoe is actually pretty durable. This mesh is like, it's a pretty thick textile type mesh. I think that they've taken like some, I don't even know. It's like some really thick fabric that they've glued over plastic, so I don't think that it's not gonna go anywhere. I've played in this a good amount. I've had this Kobe 5 a little bit longer than this shoe right here, but I have had this for a few months, and I've played it in a good amount. And so far it's holding up really well. It's not having any fraying of the mesh or whatever. None of my panels are starting to peel off or fray, or the back collar, everything is still intact. My traction as well, there's no spots of balding. There's like a little piece of salt or something, and who knows, skin from somebody's face after I ran it over. But yeah, there's no balding, there's no anything. So I think overall this is a pretty durable shoe overall. I wouldn't play in this outside because it's like a $200 shoe. Okay, put on some Monarchs or some put on some True Flights and go play outside. Okay, do that. Don't play outside. And I mean, unless you got bread like that, then who cares? Do what you want. Okay, I ain't your daddy. I ain't gonna tell you how to live. But would I play outside in this shoe? No, I wouldn't. But I ain't got it like that. So, I mean, it is what it is. For this shoe, I would like to bring up, I guess, the ventilation. And it's not really so much the ventilation, because my actual foot does not sweat in this shoe very much. However, the ankle collar is it's like wearing an ankle warmer, okay? And it's very thick, and it's like fabric neoprene type material. And it doesn't breathe, and it just captures sweat. I'm not so big on this whole ankle collar thing because it's very hot. And after I get done playing and I take my shoes off, first of all, it makes it really hard to take your shoe off because your sock just wants to stick to this ankle collar, and you really got to yank, and you look like a dipshit out there trying to take these shoes off. So yeah, I've got a little animosity to this ankle collar here. It's very hot, it gets sweaty, and then I'll put it in my backpack and I'll bring it home, and sometimes I'll forget that I have my shoes in my backpack, and then I'll take my shoes out of my backpack when I finally remember hours later, and they smell like disgusting ass. In my last review, I talked about how this was almost a perfect shoe, other than it was ugly. So I guess I'm going to talk about the aesthetics of this Kobe 9 right here. I think that this is actually a really good looking shoe. When I play in it and I play the videos back, I think to myself, that's a damn good looking shoe. And with crew socks, they come up just a little bit higher than the shoe. You put some white socks on with this thing, and it pops. It looks good, especially when you catch that medial side right there. Oh, whew. And that little hit of Volt on that Kobe logo, that it just pops, man. This shoe, it looks really good. So I guess that'll bump it up a little bit. But yeah, I think I'm ready to rate this for a final score. So overall, this is a shoe that is in my rotation so far. Over the year, I'm gonna be adding shoes, subtracting shoes, and honestly, this is probably a shoe that I'm gonna subtract here pretty soon. It just has some downfalls that I wish it didn't have. The whole ankle collar getting all sweaty and gross and nasty, making it hard to take the shoe off. Then I gotta unlace everything, and that's kind of a pain in the ass. And then, having the extra room in the toe that just keeps stretching out and stretching out and stretching out. The blisters that I was getting on the shoe just make it really not so fun to play in over time. So when I first got the shoe, thought it was great, but as I've been playing in it longer and longer, I keep noticing things about the shoe that I'm not really a big fan of. However, the traction on this is crazy, stupid, it's incomprehensible, and it's very light, which sometimes can overshadow the flaws in the shoe. However, it's just starting to get to a point where those flaws are getting hard to overlook. So overall, I'm going to give this Kobe 9 Protro in the Masterpiece colorway a 7.5 out of 10. So have you played in the Kobe 9 Protro? What do you think about it? I'd really like to know how this stacks up to the Kobe 9s that weren't Protros, like before they had the whole React midsole and had a different, I wasn't hooping back then, so I wouldn't know. Also, there's a Kobe 9 Protro Moonwalker that's coming out. It's like these purple joints that are low tops. I'm gonna go for those. And I think I'm gonna like the low top better just because there's nothing about this collar that I really like. And I think the lows look better anyway. So once I get those in, odds are this one's gonna be out the rotation. And it'll be just a relic that I look back on and go, oh, those were good times. But yeah, have you played in this shoe? Do you like it? What do you think about it? Please tell me in the comment section. Let me know. I'd like to have a discussion about it with you. And until next time, stay dedicated.